Hello. How is everybody today? I see so far we have Jennifer in the chat. Hello, Jennifer. How are you? I pushed it back an hour today because Jordan really wanted me to go watch a show with him, and I feel bad not doing that. So I was like, yeah, I'll push it back an hour.
Stop streaming.
I will hopefully have Haley joining me later. Amber will not be streaming tonight because of grieving a personal family matter that has been really hard on her, but she will be streaming tomorrow morning like normal. Okay, we have Laura. Hello, Laura. How are you? And we have Sen Seriousness. Hello, Sen. How are you? All right, I'm going to put up the usual question. What's your current word count and what do you need to reach your goal today? First, I need to finish a chapter I was working on earlier in Amber's book, and then after that, I will work on my nano project, which I am. I broke 10K yesterday, so I think I have like 10,400 something. So I will continue on to that today and maybe try to make my goal to reach 11K. Maybe. I think that would be lovely. Gosh, I feel like I'm like so low down on to the ground right now. Okay. It's a little bit better. All right. So I'm gonna get my pen and my book, and I have the document open. Oh, we had Amelie join us. Hello, how are you? Okay. And I already have a timer ready, 20 minutes. So yay. And if you end up thinking, hey, this Meadow person is annoying me today, there are other people streaming. Example, Tessadina streaming, HK Darkwood, and QWERTY are all streaming. And they are all wonderful, and you could go to them if you would like. All right. Well, I don't know what to say when I'm by myself. I feel awkward. I see comments coming in on the YouTube, but not on the StreamYard. So I can start reading them, but I can't put them on the screen. Okay, Laura says current is 15,418, and they need 1582 to reach 17,000. Awesome. Well, maybe we can get you at least a little bit closer to that. I don't know how many words you write in 20 minutes, so I don't know. Amelie says for the question, has 37K, like to hit 38K this evening. Well, hopefully, now they pop up. Hopefully I can get you both closer to reaching your goals today. So, I think we could just jump into our first sprint without too much delay. I don't see why we can't. So, let's just do it. All right. So, 3, 2, 1, go for it. Okay, hello. Hey, Steph, how's it going?
I have cake batter burning itself to the bottom of my oven.
Yeah.
Fun. I'm set my smoke alarm off today because I baked a pie last night, which leaked a little bit, and I didn't realize it. And I was making one of those Totino's pizzas that are like the rectangle, and it burned up the pie drippings and made my smoke alarm go off.
I hope my smoke alarm doesn't go off.
So, yes. All right, we had Words Fall. Autumn, come join us. Oh, and she finished the zero draft of Cracked Halo, which is sitting at 67,000. Woo! And we had Devin come in. Hello, Devin. Sen says, I'm at 92.46 and need 40.75 to catch up according to Nano. We'll see how this goes. Well, good luck. We had Amanda Richards come and join us. Hello. And we had Qwerty come in and join us. Hello. That's okay, Qwerty. Normally I would have started an hour ago, but Jordan really wanted me to go watch a show with him. And so I was like, yeah, I'll just push it an hour. It's fine. So, yay. Let's see. Amelie got around 350. Awesome. Laura got around 255. Awesome. Jennifer has returned. Hello. Oh, thank you for the reminder. If you wouldn't mind, you could like the stream. That would make my day. Cordy, long time no see, my friend. Ooh, are you printing it at home, or are you gonna go get it printed and like bound at like a place that does that? A printing place.
I love printing it at home. It's an adventure.
It is an adventure to print it at home. I do like the idea of printing it and having it bound at like a printing place.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just like pay him $20 and have him like do that. I like that idea, so I might do that with my second draft, maybe for my first book, but we'll see. I don't know. Yep. I've been printing it, and I have a binder with that I put it in, but then I stopped printing it because I wanted to wait until I was done editing it and print it all out at once. And so I have like the first 5 chapters and then nothing else. Even though editing wise, I'm on like chapter 15 or 16.
Yeah, what I'm supposed to do is every time I finish a first draft, I'll do that thing that like Natalia Lee does with just makes a physical copy on KDP or whatever.
Right.
That, and then the final draft, so I could like hold them both up together.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. I'm gonna have to do a proof copy at some point because one of my main goals or not necessarily a goal, but like a dream of mine, because my grandma has been one of my biggest supporters in my writing since I was a teenager. I want to have her hold a physical copy of my book, like with cover and all that stuff. And because we just found out that her cancer has returned and she's not going to get treatment for it this time, I don't know how much time I have left to actually publish something. So I might end up just getting a couple of proof copies of whatever draft I'm on at the time and give that to her.
Yeah, definitely go through like Barnes and Noble for that because they don't do that like band around it. And it will help you design a cover for it if you need.
That's true. I mean, I imagine because her cancer, it's breast cancer, and it's small little like spots of it. So I imagine she probably has some time, but like we don't know how much time, especially because she is older.
Mm-hmm.
And besides the fact that it hasn't been officially confirmed that it's her cancer returning because they said it could be pneumonia that they had seen on her scan, and that's why she has to go get another scan to confirm.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just saw a spot at the bottom of her lung. So. Ooh, yep. Doesn't have Autumn does not have a printer and is going to get it bound. Awesome. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was just over there yesterday, and she hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but she keeps saying, like, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. So, I mean, I'm trying to prepare myself. So that's what I'm trying to do too. Just trying to prepare myself. Plan for the worst so that if you do get good news, you're happier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for what I did for this sprint, I finished editing the chapter that I was on in Amber's book. So now I have chapters 10 through 15 left to go from edits in here into the document, and then I'm going to do one more read through in the document itself, and then I will be finished with her book.
Woot.
Woot woot. And then I have to proofread her other book. That's my December client project, is proofreading her book 2, because I copy edited book 2, but I told her I wanted to proofread it after she had it all formatted and everything, just to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
So my December is proofreading book 2, and then after that I have nothing client-wise. Thank you guys. I appreciate the support. Yeah, so Jordan is from Utah, and he had wanted us to move to Utah when I got out of the Army, but I told him it was really important to me to be close to my grandma, because she has been a very important person in my life since I was a kid, and because she's older, and I was like, I just want to be close to her while I still can. And so, like, 2 years after we moved back to Oregon is when she found out that she had cancer again. She was getting treatment for it. It went away. She can't take the medication for it anymore that was killing her cancer, because it was also killing her. So now, because she can't take the medication anymore, the cancer's growing again. So yeah, it's maybe growing again. It's probably growing again. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. Waiting on more opinions.
Yes, but she said she has her doctor's appointment to get her second scan on Tuesday, and then has an appointment later in the week to discuss the scan with the doctor. So, yeah, so that's where we're at on that. Let's see. Amanda says, I had a dream halfway through my last book that a publisher came and told me I had to be done now, and she published it half written.
Ugh.
Okay, so the other day I had a dream. Okay, so a little known fact. Me and Jordan are poly. So my dream was focused on that aspect, that me and Jordan are poly. So we went to this like event, like a wedding. It was like this weird wedding animal auction combination. Like, I have no idea how to explain it better than that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a wedding, but they were also auctioning chickens and rabbits. It was weird. So me and Jordan went to this event, and in my dream, I met this guy, and my dream was so vivid that when I woke up, I could have sworn that I actually knew this person, even though I've never, like, I don't know who they are.
For a minute.
They're entirely fictional, but like I woke up, I'm like, oh man, I should like text him. I'm like, wait a minute, that was fake. He was not real.
No, you just have timeline for a minute. He's totally real. He just not in this reality.
He's just not in this reality. Yeah, that's like, his name was Ryan. God, what was his last name? I can't remember, because it was a dream and it's kind of hazy now. But it was so vivid when I woke up that I was like convinced he was real. And his name was Ryan something or other, and he was really nice, and he was very cute, and we ended up starring in a movie together about pirates. The character he played was named Corey, and I was a princess character that I can't remember the name of, but it was a trip. Oh, I did not know that about you, Emily. That's cool. Yeah, I don't really talk about it that often, because a lot of my family members are starting to find my YouTube channel now, and that's not really something that they approve of, so I've stopped talking about, like, stop talking about them, not that I've stopped doing them necessarily. Like, I'm just not going to rub it in their faces if I know that they stop by every once in a while.
Yeah, I actively don't want my family to be aware of like my social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
Just
see, One of my family members has been popping in recently, my cousin Kim. I have no idea how she found my channel.
Mm-hmm.
I have no, like, she just came in one day. She's like, hi, cuz. And I'm like, hi. How did you find me? I mean, Kim is lovely. She's really nice. I just have no idea how she found my channel. But the part of the reason why I don't talk about that stuff anymore is because a lot of the family members that do come by my channel or talk about it with me are on my dad's side. And everybody on my dad's side is super religious. Like my grandpa's a pastor, my grandma and him are missionaries. My grandpa's parents were pastors, both of them. My grandma's parents were both pastors. Like,
One that you wanted, or the regular one?
The little Tykes one looked the most sturdy, but if it goes on a corner,
Tykes one. There's one that goes in a corner. That's the corner of the room one, and then there's a regular long one.
either one. I don't know which one would be better.
She said either one.
I don't know. I was talking about the toy kitchen that.
Tell her if she can find one of the old school Fisher Price ones. Get one of those instead. One of the
Oh yeah.
When we were kids, that would actually be a lot better. Those things are friggin' indestructible.
Well, I was thinking about me and Jordan going up, taking a trip to IKEA and getting like one of those nice wooden ones because it would like last multiple children.
So tell her to get one of those or the Fisher Price, one of the OG Fisher Price ones. Those things are indestructible.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I dreamed once that someone I had a crush on was in the body of someone I really didn't like, and I was so confused about what to feel. Oh, that's fair. I wouldn't mention it if it was my real name. Yeah. Yeah. I was raised evangelical Christian, homeschooled. See, I was not raised evangelical. I was Assemblies of God was the church I went to growing up. Just kind of non-denominational. I'm still Christian, but I'm not like Bible thumper Christian. But
yeah, I was raised like 70% Catholic, 30% racist Bible thumper. So like I'll meme on Catholicism because my experience in the Catholic Church was very pleasant for the most part. But I don't talk about the like Bible thumper side because I know not everybody had that kind of experience. And even though from what I've been able to understand of this particular denomination, it is a core belief, I don't want to be mean to people who aren't being assholes the way they were.
Right.
Like aside from the one bitch who got in my sister's face when she was 6 and called her a idolater and she was going to go to hell. She told a 6-year-old she was going to hell because there was a statue of Mary outside of our church.
See, I found out something actually recently that made me happy about my family. And so I discovered that one of my cousins on my dad's side is, I don't know if she's lesbian or if she's bi or what specifically, but she recently got married to a woman. Fantastic. I fully support it. And I recently discovered that the majority of my family on that side also supports it, even though they're all super Christian. And I was just like very happy to hear that. Like,
so yeah, that's something that makes
when
you
they
feel
had like announced it was nothing but positive
comments.
Yeah, and it was nothing but positive comments. And like my great grandma May, my dad's mom's mom, like made a comment on there that was just so sweet and wholesome. And I'm like, okay, this makes me happy to know that my super Christian family members support this because like that's just awesome. Like
like I am very standard in a lot of ways. Like I am straight. I'm married to one person who was my first boyfriend. But even when I see people in my sphere feel safe enough with their family to like open up about where they are in their stuff, I feel safer around those people too because I'm also very liberal. I am bordering on socialist.
I'm conservative Christian. I'm registered Republican just because I like to vote in the primaries, but politically identify more independent party.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to be able to vote in the primaries for the Republican Party, so I have to be registered Republican to vote in the Republican primaries. So,
Yep. I live in Michigan where it is open primary, so I don't have to do that. I have to apparently I have to register as in a party to when I register to vote, but they leave me alone.
If we had open primaries in my state, then I would register independent party or libertarian. One of those two. But we don't have open primaries, so I have to vote for the party that I want to have influence over. Yeah. So, yeah. I am conservative. If anybody is wondering about the political compass test, I recommend it. Because I actually found out that I'm a lot more central than I thought I was. I always thought of myself as like really right leaning. But when I took the political compass test, I'm almost an exact centrist.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person where like I see the meme of if you go far enough left, you get your guns back. I'm one of those people. I'm like, we can be a socialist country. Everybody should have a gun though. Yeah. And the military should have a lot fewer guns.
I think that if socialism is going to try to be implemented in the United States, it needs to be slowly, one thing at a time, thoroughly tested as we go, and not just have us be thrown into it.
Oh yeah, that's fair. We're like in the middle of that kind of thing now, like the Social Security and the social net we have with food stamps and housing assistance and all of that is very baby steppy.
I think that universal health care should be run by the states instead of by the government as a whole, because I think it could be more efficiently run if each state is in charge of their own healthcare. Because Oregon has universal health care in our state, and it's run really well because it's just our state. And it's the only people that can have it are people who cannot afford to pay for their own health care, which perfectly understandable for me. I don't get it because
I don't think that's reasonable. I think if it's going to be universal, it should be everybody should have access to it. That's because I grew up in a very precarious position household where like on paper we could afford it, but in actuality, we do that and our standard of living dropped significantly. Like,
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm pretty sure for us the bracket of like you can afford it or can't afford it is based off of your take home pay after taxes and stuff are taken out. Because a lot of things like food stamps and that kind of stuff is based off of your before taxes. Is it gross pay is before taxes and net is after taxes?
Yes.
Okay, so food stamps and that kind of stuff is based off of your gross pay. OHP eligibility is based off of your net pay. So based on the actual money that you get daily. And they also base it off of your daily expenses, like your rent and stuff like that, like how much you have for those kind of expenses. Children under the age of 18 are automatically covered no matter what the income of the parents is. Adults are only covered if your employer does not offer health care or you can't afford to pay for your own health care. And then you qualify and you just have to like go apply for it and they give it to you. I don't know. I think our healthcare system is really good. I don't really see a lot of complaints about it. So
that's good. I just remember like growing up, it was in that situation where we did not qualify for help in anything. So it was like to do anything to make ourselves a little bit more comfortable was to take serious step backs in other ways, where the way you graduate out of assistance often makes your circumstances worse.
Yeah. I understand that.
So that's why I'm a supporter of like the UBI, universal basic income, something like that, where like everybody is qualified for health insurance. Everybody gets so much in food stamps, no matter how much you make. Like you don't necessarily have to take it; you have to apply for it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is like, you can get this much, this little, this much, this little, depending on how much you make. But that way, there is no you make $50 more than the qualifications were, so now you lose $100 worth of assistance, and you're $50 worse off than you were before.
Yeah, so I understand that. So my mom, after my younger sister was born, my mom had to stay home for a while because my sister had a lot of medical problems when she was a baby. So when my mom quit working and was a stay-at-home parent for a few years, we were on food stamps and stuff. As soon as my mom started working again and she made like $10 more than what the food stamps requirement was, they didn't like decrease it slowly. They completely took them away. So then all of a sudden we couldn't afford to buy food. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah, and like that's where
you gotta like gradually wean people off of these things, not just strip it the minute they make $1 more than what they should.
And that's where why people get sucked in the need for it, because you are getting punished for doing better. Like,
yeah. I see this. I don't know what the rates from the 50s were, so I can't say if I agree with you or not.
Pre-economics, it was almost like 50%. And that's when the greatest amount of infrastructure was going. That's when the middle class was the strongest. And it didn't decrease like the number of people who were getting rich and starting businesses. It actually was building onto more.
Gotcha.
It's a really interesting thing rabbit hole to fall down.
Forced poverty is definitely a thing, and I think it affects way too many people. And I think a big way to boost people's chances at a prosperous livelihood is to reform our education system and teach vocations in high school rather than forcing people to have to go to college.
I'm also a proponent of like free higher education, because the only thing that will make the world a better place is if we are all smarter. And
I'm like 50-50 on that. I think free higher education is a great idea. I think it should be entirely based on a merit system. If your grades fall below a certain level, you don't get to have free education anymore. That's what I think.
That's reasonable.
Because I feel like the free education should be for jobs that are actually going to benefit the country as a whole, rather than like something that's going to not benefit anybody just because you want to study that thing. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I see the benefit in all kinds of education. Like there's one of my husband's favorite stories is there is a country over in Europe. He knows the name of the country. I don't retain that kind of information because I only half listen when he speaks. But their equivalent of the Fortune 500 company, every LLC that reaches a certain point has to employ on staff at all times a philosopher who has to like check the decisions and weigh them versus the needs of the company and growth versus, the financial aspect versus how is this going to benefit the country and the people who live there. And they have to make better, more universally good decisions.
I was listening to you. Jordan was just asking me a question about Noel's shampoo.
Oh.
Yes, the Elsa one. You can use that one. Okay, yeah. But yeah, I think reforming the education system is like the first step, in my opinion, because there's a lot of people that think they have to go to college to have a good paying job, but there's a lot of good paying jobs that you don't have to go to college for at all.
And there's a lot of pressure to go
Yeah,
to
it's
college
broken.
and not go to the vocational schools when like which is something I didn't learn about until after I graduated. Because where I live at least, the word college meant trade school, vocational school, college. Like if you were going to any of these things, you were going to college. Which is so that's kind of like my standard is we should just call everything college.
See, when I was in high school, one of our required classes for all seniors was an economics class. It was economics/government. So the first half of the year we took government and learned all about the government system and who our current politicians in the most important like seats were at that time. And we had for that final we had to pass a U.S. citizenships test. And then the second half of the year was economics, where we learned how to handle finances, how to apply for jobs, how to fill out checks, how to fill out your W-2s, all that kind of stuff. And it was a great class. But then I hear other people that went to like bigger schools and stuff that didn't have those classes. And I'm just like floored because it feels like it should be a requirement.
We had a class like that. We had a personal finance class. That the way because we had a block schedule, you had to take 3 math classes plus 1 your senior year.
Where's the phone at, Dave?
And the personal
I had
finance
no idea.
was a class that would count as your senior math. But if you took it, there was like actually a stigma in my school against taking that class. Like you were trying to slack if you took the personal finance class instead of like the think the highest level of math you could get at my school other than AP Calc was you could actually take like third trigonometry. Because there was algebra 2, pre-calc, trigonometry, and then you could take calculus and then AP Calc. And our AP classes took a whole year. So there was a lot of people that like sneered at the kids who took personal finance, which is dumb. But I also did that. I'm also dumb. I took pre-calc instead of personal finance and never
Sorry, Jordan's giving Noelle a bath and keeps asking me for every little thing. Like, come on.
Yeah,
where's the comb? Why is she out of shampoo? Where's the other one? What about this? Like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was just going on a rant about how there was a personal finance class in my school and it was considered like a math elective where if you took it for your senior math class, it wasn't as hard. So there was kind of an attitude of it like sneering at the kids who took it.
Ours was a required class that all seniors had to take, but it counted as an elective class. Which you have to have like electives to graduate. So it counted as an elective because it was government and economics. But it was a requirement. Like you had to take that class, otherwise they would not let you graduate. So, I mean, I found it really beneficial because we learned all about how credit works, like credit cards and like loans and like all that kind of stuff. One of our projects that we had to do in the economics portion was we had to think about what job we wanted to have, what career we wanted, and the lifestyle that we wanted to maintain. And we had to figure out very detailed every step we were going to have to take from this moment all the way through to like basically get settled into that lifestyle with that career. And like financially, how much it was all going to cost, how much work it was going to take, like if you had to go to college, all that kind of stuff, and what college you wanted to go to. It was a very, very in-depth project, and it was very eye-opening for me because at the time I had wanted to be a high school English teacher, but I wanted to have a lifestyle that was not going to be feasible with the steps I was going to have to take to get to that point. So it was very eye-opening for me. I was like, basically figured out that I either had to not be a teacher and figure out something that was going to pay me more or have a lifestyle that was less expensive.
I gotta go check my cake. Hold on.
Okay. I really liked that class. It was awesome. Oh, we're chatting again today. Okay, I think when Spence returns, we could start another sprint. So I'm going to get it ready to go. And then we can start it when Spence comes back. Are you coming downstairs, Noelle? Did you put a diaper on her?
No, there's no diaper.
Here, I'll turn off my camera. Hi, baby. Did you get a bath time? Did Daddy give you a bath?
There's no diapers. Yeah, I'm missing.
Did you get a bath?
What time is it?
It's 8:59.
Still in more sleep.
Are you tired?
Yeah.
Just go to bed then.
I don't want to go to bed.
Well, then don't go to bed.
One day off.
Did you brush your hair?
No, give me that.
I'm just gonna brush your hair really quick. Your hair looks a little bit tangly. There we go. Get your hair all untangled. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, here you go. Here's your brush.
I'm going my phone.
You're gonna go watch Morphle? Hold on, wait. Say hi.
No.
Say hi, everybody. Oh, she's grumpy. All right, go watch it. Oh, wait. Wrap your towel around you. Here, and take a diaper with you so Daddy can put a diaper on you.
Did you just put it on her now?
She's already leaving. Okay.
Here, let me put the diaper on.
All right. Whew. Spence, hurry. I want to start a sprint.
Here, step in the diaper. Get around.
Spence, I'm going to start a sprint. Let's see. Sam took a trades programming or computer programming graphic design. My homeschool was not happy because I was 3.8 GPA student, even though I still had to take my normal classes on top of it. I was not a very good student. I didn't do my homework and failed most of my classes. Well, I would barely pass most of my classes because I refused to do my homework. Well, I shouldn't say refused. If I didn't finish my homework while I was still at school, it did not get done. I would take stuff home with me and would not do homework. So, yeah. I work at a university and I love everything about higher education, but it isn't an environment where everyone thrives and it isn't needed for everything. Yeah, I agree. I think that working and going to university is great for some people. I think that people are society puts too much pressure on the importance of going to a university when there's a lot of jobs that don't need a degree and a lot of high-paying jobs that don't need a degree, and that some people spend a lot of money going to college when they're really not the type of person that should be going to college because they just don't thrive in an academic environment, and they could just or learn a trade in high school. I think that the whole high school system in the United States should be changed to teach vocations in high school so that people can immediately graduate from high school and be able to go into the workforce if they choose to not go to college. Like teach people to be mechanics, teach people to be carpenters or work in construction, or teach people, you could even potentially go as far as teaching like pre-med classes in high school so that you don't have to go to university as long.
My school, when my sister went, she's like 6 years older than me, had house building as an actual class where if you took 3 years or like 3 to 4 semesters of woodshop, you would go on site to build a house.
That's
with
cool.
a real construction crew for a class.
Well, like, what about I know some schools have like a shop for working on cars and stuff. Like, you could totally teach people how to be a mechanic in high school. To become a licensed mechanic, you have to work in a shop for 2 years under a mechanic, and then you can go get licensed. Like, you could totally train people to be mechanics in high school, and then they can go graduate and become a mechanic. And mechanics actually make decent money. They make a decent living. So, like, I don't see why we can't do that in all public schools. Like,
and part of that's because public schools are pretty well funded through a lot of local taxes.
I think our education system fails us as a whole, like fails our entire society, because there's so much potential. I think we should be training our youth to become a productive adult and teaching them a trade. Like, if they want to go to college, they like say they want to be a doctor and they want to go to college, then you can go have like options for them to go academic route to go into a university. But if they were like, I don't want to go to college, I just want to learn how to do something, then they should have those options too. Like, I wanted to go to college because I wanted to be a productive adult. I felt pressure to go to college, but I've now since discovered, since trying to attempt going to college, that I am not an academically gifted person. So, yeah, I joined the Army so that I could get the GI Bill so I could go to college.
If I went to school for like 2 years, studying art history because I just love it. And then, I really I benefited the hell out of my time at school. I would be a grad student right now if other life things hadn't gotten in the way. Noah and I were living on campus together when he got screwed out of his financial aid, which we were using to pay rent at the moment because we could not quite find a job. And so we couldn't pay rent all of a sudden and could not sustain life up there like that. But I was studying art and art history, and I got so much out of that experience. Part of why I am very firm about free education in every sector, in all, reform the way we think about it, because I don't want there to be somebody else like me who wants to go and can't because money.
The other thing I worry about with the government paying for education, I feel like universities would inflate the price of how much, it's already way too expensive. I feel like the prices would only go up, and then it would cost the taxpayers more money to provide the free education. I could be wrong about that, but I have that feeling that would happen.
My inclination on that is that wouldn't go as well as they'd want it to. But that's because I see it more my perspective is more seeing it as akin to why socialized medicine will always be better than capitalist medicine. Because especially when it's your own life, you will pay whatever you have to not die.
Ooh, that's yucky. Put that in the garbage.
When you're asking for your own life. You have a bargaining chip when it's your own life. And I think there's a similar sentiment in that for education, in that they are raising the prices because we have an emotional investment, an emotional stake in getting that education. If it's the government, they could say, no, fuck off, and not feel any feelings about it.
Yeah, I can see that this could be true too. If the government's paying more for education, then they would regulate how much it could cost. Yeah, I could see that happening too. I don't know. I'm not the most educated person when it comes to that kind of a topic. Like, I don't really know that much about economics and how that kind of stuff works. So I can have opinions, but like, I can also admit that like my opinions could very likely not be accurate. Like,
yeah, I'm wrong constantly.
So I don't know. I think the main focus that we should put on education should be starting in high school.
Mm.
I think that there wouldn't necessarily be nearly as much of a need for free education for college and university if people learned trades in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's what I think. All right. Now that you're back and we have talked a whole bunch about politics and stuff, we should do another sprint.
We had a really nice conversation about that.
It is a nice conversation. And funny enough for me, like, although I am conservative and a lot of people that I talk to are usually not, I still get a lot of respect from people about my opinion on the education reform that I think needs to happen, because surprisingly, a lot of people agree with me, even people who aren't on the same political side as me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find
I don't think that's really, I wouldn't consider that necessarily a political problem.
True. I feel like a lot of people on different sides of the political spectrum have very differing opinions on issues like that. That sometimes it just surprises me when I find out that people actually agree with me that don't agree with me on other issues that are similar. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. It just surprises me that, like, I'll talk about, like, hey, I think this education reform is really important, and people on, like, the left will be like, oh yeah, I agree with you. I'm like, wait, what? Excuse me? Oh, Jennifer said, just took the political compass test. I'm so far left, I was almost off the chart.
I'm going to take that during the sprint.
Yeah, I really like it. Politicalcompasstest.org or some. Jordan, is it politicalcompasstest.org or politicalcompass.org? The political compass test. Is it politicalcompasstest.org or no test? Oh, okay, he doesn't remember. Hold on a second.
It's politicalcompass.org/test.
Okay, yeah, that's it. That's because there's a couple of them that are out there, and that's the one I find better.
I put it in the chat. Because I have a wrench of power.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I figured out that I'm more centrist than what I thought, because like a lot of issues I am very conservative on. And a lot of issues I'm very not conservative on, and it's kind of a mixed bag, honestly.
What's an issue you think you're very conservative on?
Abortion. I don't particularly agree with socialized anything, but I can see benefits in trying to lean that way in certain things. So I'm more neutral on it now than I used to be. But I'm very pro-life, like very pro-life. But that's a big part of my Christian side and less political.
Mm-hmm.
Because politically, I don't think it should be made entirely illegal, because people are still going to do it, and I'd rather people have access to it safely.
Why are you so political, bro?
Because it's a good conversation sometimes.
Yeah, like I think my biggest issue with it in a political sense is the laws about it are not written by people who understand what the situations are. And how
my opinion on it politically is it should be legal, but with limitations. My opinion on it morally is I don't think people should do it, but it's not my place to tell people to do it or not do it.
Mm-hmm. Very same. Like I don't think there should. My opinion on it is I don't think there should be laws about this one at all, unless they are written by women OBGs who understand how women's bodies works and why women are in these situations. So they can put limitations on them, and we don't have people like that one guy who said women's bodies will shut down in the event of non-consensual sex. Like,
yeah. Oh God,
people like that. in
Yeah.
positions of writing laws, no, you are not allowed to write these laws.
I think that they're writing laws in terms of like, I think this is immoral, so I want to completely ban it, without being educated on how it actually works and like what would lead somebody to want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the issues with the like late term ones is it takes in so many of the arguments about it take it as a choice, and when it comes to a like third trimester, that's not a choice, that's a tragedy for everybody involved. No one wants to be there for that.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I think
I
it
don't
should be
want
legal.
idiots writing laws about it. I want I don't want idiots writing laws about it. That's my point.
Yeah, I can like see that, like have people who actually know, who are actually educated on how the human body works and all that kind of stuff, to write the laws about that kind of stuff. I can vibe with that. Yeah, but yeah, I'm just like, it's a mixed bag for political of like, I agree with this or I don't agree with this. Another one that
my opinion on it is I am pro-choice, but I will always choose and encourage life.
That's a good way to put it.
And I've seen a lot of people who, and I've called myself pro-choice because I see so many people who are like, just make the laws and that'll make it go away. And it's like, no, we need more stuff that helps prevent the situation from arising and fixing things that make people think it's the right choice.
See, over here, best way to reduce abortions is education and access to contraceptives. 100% agree. I think that there's a big issue in public schools when it comes to the sex talk of like where they teach abstinence only. Don't do that. Don't do that. You need to teach people how to have safe sex so that we don't have people getting pregnant that don't want to get pregnant. Teaching abstinence only is absolutely useless because they're going to ignore you. And they're going to go have sex, but they're not going to know how to prevent themselves from creating babies.
Yeah, and like what she added next too is the
program where teenagers can get free birth control implants, and the results have been great. It's also worth noting that the procedure of removing a dead fetus is called an abortion, and banning that procedure is dangerous. See, I didn't know that removing a dead fetus is called an abortion as well. I always have just heard it in terms of removing a fetus living. So I didn't know that. And so definitely if they're going to put bans on abortions or whatever they're going to do, they need to make sure that they are being clear that it is not dead fetuses that they're talking about.
When my sister was pregnant with her son, one of the early tests came back like very concerning. And so for like the 2 weeks before her, like between the results of that test coming back and them sending her to Toledo to get more thorough tests in a bigger facility that can more appropriately test these things, she was looking at a situation where it would be the choice between having one or having a baby die 3 days after it's born.
Right.
And like that's
a tough decision. And it's like in aspects like that, that's why I'm like, I don't think it should be made completely illegal, because there are situations where I don't see a problem with somebody choosing to do it. The only problem I have with it is when you are not careful, you accidentally get pregnant and you kill a baby that has no health problems whatsoever. That's the moral situation where I stand. Like, but I can see like you get raped and you get pregnant. I support you getting an abortion. You're gonna die if you have your baby. I support it. Your baby's gonna die seconds after it's born or 3 days after it's born. I'm fine with you getting an abortion. It's when it's needless.
And like that could be resolved almost to the point of like becomes a negligible amount with more education.
Yeah.
Save the world by fixing education.
Yeah. So
you want fewer gun crimes and like gun deaths and mass murders? More education.
I think a big way to
Everything can be fixed with more
See,
education.
I wholeheartedly support the Second Amendment. I do think that there should be some regulation. I think that anybody who wants to buy a firearm should be required to take a gun safety course and pass a gun safety course if you want to own a weapon.
Dave, I'm sending you something for Jace.
Okay.
You gotta open it.
Okay. Jordan's sending me a TikTok to send to Jace. Apparently.
Yeah, like, and this is where the you go so far left, you get your guns back thing comes through. I think guns in America,
My fingers.
because there's so many guns, you should be able to be, like, as a requirement for graduating high school, you should pass a gun safety course.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Like, you need to turn 18 with this knowledge.
I think you should have the choice to either own a gun or not own a gun.
But I think you should be able to use one either way.
Yeah. I think you should know how to use one, whether you choose to own one or not.
Mm-hmm.
Safely use one.
Like, that is the socially responsible thing to do in a country where gun ownership is such an integral part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just needs to know how to shoot what they are aiming at, how to not shoot a gun, and how to make a gun so it won't shoot for a while.
One thing that me and Jordan have talked about when it comes to our children is when they get old enough, which is kind of subjective, there we go, of like, you won't really know when they're old enough until they're old enough kind of a situation.
Mm-hmm. Some kids will be old enough at 5, some will be old enough at 12.
Yeah, so when our children are old enough, they will be taught gun safety and how to take apart and reassemble and properly clean and like anything to do with gun safety use, they're gonna know how to do it.
So. I think that and like driver's ed and
put that
all
away.
of that should just be part of your education.
Where's the rest of my butter?
Because gun ownership is a choice, but it should be an informed choice.
Did you take the butter off the butter tray? I had a whole stick of butter on this butter tray, and now it's gone.
And there should be like something in our education that like something that teaches people the value of a human life. Because oh no. Why are you holding in your hand?
Because she stole this. And I was like, no, don't touch that. And I went to take it away from her, but the butter was gone. And I said, hey, Jordan, did you take the butter off the butter tray? And he's like, no. Noelle, what did you do with the butter? And she picked it up off the floor and put it in my hand.
Right here, Mommy.
She thinks it's cheese and she tries to eat it all the time.
Did I tell you about the one time my sister made homemade soap for a while, like laundry soap? So she took a cheese grater and just the block of raw soap and was grating it up and walks away, comes back, there's a big old bite out of the box soap, just a block of soap. And my nephew comes up to her a few minutes later and goes, Mommy, I don't think that cheese is any good.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me about that. I remember now. Yeah, so I don't understand why you think that she would learn by now that it's not cheese because she tries to eat it all the time. And it's not cheese, and she still tries to eat it. Yeah, I just don't think that plain butter tastes very good. All right, so yeah, I see this comment. Anyway, sprints, yes, we need to do sprints because that's why we're here.
I think Meadow and I are just here to talk to other adults.
Yeah, I guess, because every time me and Spence are on the screen together, we end up getting very chatty about something.
Because adults.
Yeah, all right. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, there's a second sprint finally done.
Oh, geez. Me too.
Amelie had to go to bed, got the minimum words for the day, and says to have a good night. Thanks for the conversation. You're welcome. Hopefully the conversation wasn't too much conversation. Because me and Spence lately have been very chatty.
I miss talking to adults so bad.
Yeah. And Jordan was just, because I put Noelle to bed, and I was letting Jordan know after I put her to bed that I had put her mattress on the floor to try to get her to sleep on it, which she is sleeping on it. So, yay. And he was saying,
oh, there she goes. You said it.
but he was complaining, saying, how long are you going to be going for? I'm like, why? Do you want me to come up here? Because he's going to bed because he's really tired. And he's like, no, I want you to do what you want to do. I said, well, I am doing what I want to do. And he like sighed. I'm like, if you want me to come up here, you need to vocalize that to me. And then I could wrap up sooner and come up here. He's like, no, I want you to do what you want to do. Well, I am doing what I want to do. But if you want me to do something else, you need to tell me. He's like, it's fine. It's fine. And it's like, well, you're not acting like it's fine. Like, if you're upset, you need to use your words and tell me.
Aren't women supposed to do the it's fine thing?
I want you to do what you want to do. I want you to do what you want to do. Well, I am doing what I want to do. Like, come on. Like, I pushed it back an hour because you wanted to watch our show. So I pushed it back so that we watch our show. We watched 3 episodes. Great. Perfect. Wonderful. Now, let me do my stream. Like, he talked on the phone with his mom for a while, and he went and got to do Noelle's nighttime routine with her bath. Like, he doesn't normally get to do that because he's working. So, like, why are you so mad at me? He's saying that he wants me to stream during the day when he's at work instead of at nighttime, which I can see that. So maybe I will find a better time during, like, earlier in the day to stream. And the rest of my streams for the month, I could try to do them earlier. I'll see what time I can find that's a good time. The reason why I chose this time is because it's when I know it's not going to conflict with a lot of other people's streams, or at least people who I'm like good enough friends with that I don't want to conflict with their streams, because you're never going to be able to completely avoid streaming at the same time as anybody else.
Yeah. See, this is why I made the deal with Noah, where Tuesday nights he could throw my laptop out the window if I'm using it and he wants my attention.
Yeah. And Jordan's like, you're doing your streams at the only time that I'm ever home. It's like, yeah, but you have tomorrow off, and I'm planning on spending as much time as you want with you tomorrow until my stream starts at 7. Like, you have me all day. So, and like last time he had a day off, he had the opportunity to hang out with me all day. My stream didn't start until 9 my time, and he spent the entire day upstairs playing on his VR, which is fine. That's what he wanted to do, and I didn't complain. But then he complains when he comes home and I'm doing my stream, and it's like, you had all day yesterday to hang out with me, and you didn't.
You knew this was happening.
So,
you knew this was the plan.
Men. Well, for that stream, or for that sprint, I mean, I did not do any writing, but I finished my to-do list thing, putting all of this in my spreadsheet that I share with Jace. Nice. Because I realized that I'd been writing it in here, but not on the spreadsheet. So I put all this in there, and I was going to get started on next week, the first couple days of next week, and then the timer went off. So, and I put Noelle to bed. But
I took the political compass test.
Yeah.
I am very, very left, very libertarian, like left libertarian, which kind of bothers me.
Well,
I know who identify as libertarian are like very right-leaning libertarians, and I think they're fucking idiots.
Well, libertarian in the political compass test is not I feel like it doesn't exactly mean the same as what like the Libertarian Party uses it for, because it's libertarian or authoritarian and then right and left. And libertarians are usually, like the political party itself, are usually like right-leaning centrists, but in this case, it's the whole down half of the chart is libertarian.
Yeah, I took a screenshot of my results. I'll send it to you on Facebook because it's very. I am almost in the corner.
Almost in the bottom corner?
Yeah.
Yeah. That square of the chart, Gandhi's in that square, so not in the corner, but like in that section of the chart, that bottom right section. Gandhi's in that section, so.
Yeah, I'm in that green section. Literally almost like.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty good spot to be. I mean, like, any spot on here is decent unless you're one of the top corners, because those are the Nazis and the communists on the top corners.
Yeah.
And not communists as in, like, the ideal of communism. Communists as in, like, the
China.
USSR and the Communist Party of China. Like, bad communists. Those top two corners are the bad ones. You don't want to be in those two places, but pretty much anywhere else is fine. Nazis are the top right, communists are the top left. Well, I'm realizing on the screen that it's left is not left, but
yeah, I get what you mean.
Imagine that I'm pointing in the correct direction. I'm pointing in the right way for me.
You can just share my picture with the share screen thing, and then you can like.
Oh, we could do that. Let me share Facebook. Share. Okay, this is the results for the lovely Miss Spence here. So this section is authoritarian right. This is where the, like, up here is Nazis. Over here is authoritarian left. Up here is communists. Over here, the extreme, like if you were down on this corner, the extreme, the analogy that people use is the snowflakiest of the snowflakes. I don't particularly like using that because, and then this one over here, the joke term that people use here is pedophiles. So you don't really want to be on any of these three corners, basically.
Why?
I don't know. There's a whole like subreddit for the political compass test, and people make fun of themselves on there all the time. And the people on this section have chosen that this is the pedophile section. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know because I'm in I'm like right. I think mine is like right here. I think I'm right here. So I'm like almost exact center. If I remember correctly. So like this section right here, within, I think it's within 3 squares of the center, you're known as the ultimate grill master because you can host the barbecue with everybody, because you get along with everybody. Which I find to be pretty accurate, that I do indeed get along with everybody. So.
I think my answer might have been a bit different if I did not. I've trained myself to just separate what I think versus what I think the government should do. And I answered with what I think the government should do, not like what I think.
Right. I mean, that could vary. So the questions on that test are really, really, really vague. And it's just meant to get like your base beliefs, like the core of what your beliefs are, and then case by case stuff will come along and like shift it a little bit in different directions. So like for me, I always viewed myself as being like kind of far right, not like all the way right, but like kind of far right. And then when I took the political compass test and I was like almost exact center, I was like, wait, what? Like my mind was blown. It was like a whole identity crisis for me for a little while. But then I realized, like, I mean, those questions are really vague. So then, like, certain case-by-case stuff will push me a little bit more to the right. So, like, I still am kind of on the right, but I'm in the core of my belief, I am a centrist. So, yeah, it's really interesting. I do think that it's valuable for most people to take that. test. So
it reaffirms that I'm like a couple of steps off of being like the anarchist socialist. Because I do think it is like the core of my belief is I think social responsibility trumps personal responsibility.
Right.
Because personal responsibility historically seems to have ended up with more benefits for personal gain as well.
I do believe that personal responsibility is important, but I can also see that society as a whole can, like the way that our society is, can kind of prevent some people from being able to have personal responsibility as well as other people.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I think that social responsibility is important too. I think we need to give people the opportunity to then become personally responsible.
And like the way I see it is you cannot be socially responsible without being like responsible on your own. Like if as a whole society decides to put
Noelle's very upset, as you can hear.
Yeah, I think like if it was in a collective sense, social responsibility includes personal responsibility.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A socially conscious choice that includes a lack of personal responsibility. Like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see your point, which is why I'm in the centrist category, because like I can see points on all sides. Like I may not agree with all points on all sides, but I can see why somebody would believe what they believe or why they have an opinion that they have. And I can like understand what led them to have that belief or opinion, and I can respect that.
I struggle with the respect part, but that's because most of the people I'm exposed to with several differing beliefs, with like a handful of exceptions, like it's just ignorance.
Yeah.
Their issues, and it's like
when I say I can respect that, there are certain things that I can't. Like if you're just super racist, no, I can't respect that. If you're super homophobic, no, I can't respect that. But if you're the type of Christian that like I believe that homosexuality is a sin, but I can't judge others because I am also a sinner by nature, like Christians are supposed to be, then I can respect you having the belief that you believe it's a sin, but as long as you're not getting up in people's face telling them they're going to go to hell because they're gay. I can respect your belief. I don't agree, but I can respect your belief because you're not being a dick.
Yep.
Racism, though, I just can't respect. There's absolutely zero reason for anybody to be racist. Period. There's no religion that I know of that says that one race is superior to another.
See, this is where the 30% of my original like biblical education came from. Is so every summer I'd have to go with my dad's side of the family to this church for vacation Bible school. And I always looked forward to it because it was just like a week in the mornings, you'd get up, you'd get to see different people, and it was very structured, and there was lots of playtime and games and story time. Very good stuff. 10 out of 10 summer entertainment for kids 6 to 12.
Okay.
But it took me a really long time after I was done to realize there was a lot of bullshit programming going on. Like I remember in 6th grade, learning world history and learning about different religions that some of the things they told me in this Bible school were blatantly lies. Like there was a story time after every run around outside. We'd come in to the nice dark church. Mrs. Smith would read us a story, and it would be an overarching story throughout the week. And it was a lot of stories about missionaries.
Okay.
And one that really sticks in my memory is this one about she had visual aids. So it was a very white, well-dressed, like brown-haired, pale skin, suit and tie in the middle of the desert or in the middle of India kind of guy going in and lifting this little boy and his sister out of starvation and poverty. And one of the things that like they did every night was instead of them eating because they didn't have enough money, they would put a cup of rice in front of their Buddha statue. But that meant some nights they would go hungry because they had to give this rice to their statue.
Okay.
But in like world history and talking to other people who were actually Buddhist, that's not how that worked. In a family like that, there'd be like 2 grains of rice.
So it's like tithing in church, where it's based off of your income, not just like a specific amount.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's 10% of your income, so the amount that you're tithing would be different based on your income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and but the narration that they were giving to kindergartners through 6th graders was that these parents were starving their children for their false gods.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, and like it really hit me one day, like just driving with my dad, and I'm like, how am I not one of them? How did I not internalize this? I am so confused. Yeah.
Well, okay, there's a book that I read. I think it's a very good book. If you are religious, Christian, like specifically Christian religious, I recommend it. It's called Under the Idolatries. It's about a girl named Ijeoma who lives in Nigeria during the Nigerian Revolution in the 60s or 70s, maybe? I can't remember. 60s or 70s. And she is a lesbian, but her is Christian, and basically she's struggles with accepting herself as a lesbian, as well as coming to terms with her religion and being lesbian and stuff. It's a very, very good book, but there is a section that's kind of harder to get through when the mom finds out that she was like in love with a girl and tries to do the conversion stuff on her at home. Doesn't send her like to a camp or anything, but is like making her do Bible study to like study the gay out of her, basically. And she used a specific verse. I can't remember what it is, like what the actual verse is, but it was something along the lines of not sowing 2 different types of grain together in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And tried to use that as a metaphor, saying that you're not supposed to intermingle different races. Because the girl that the main character had been in love with was of a different tribe and was Muslim. And so she tried to basically use that verse to say you're not supposed to be with her, not only because she's a woman, but also because she's of a different tribe and is Muslim, and you're not supposed to sow 2 different seeds together. And it's like, no, that verse is about not sowing 2 different seeds together, not about being racist. Like
there is a significant
don't make things be what they're not.
There's a significant portion of like the Old Testament that sole existence is to keep like Judaism and eventually Christianity alive by just not letting those people go extinct by being dumb. Like,
yeah, not sewing two different types of seed together is about agriculture, not about your dumbass using it to make it be racist. Like, come on. And I see, like, not just that
together,
book, but
because if you do that, they won't grow right, and you will starve.
Yeah, and I see people
So
use
shellfish can
like that all the time to try to justify racism and various other things that just aren't like I just can't fathom it. I just can't. Like, the only thing I can understand why people of Christianity would believe it being sinful is homosexuality, because it specifically says in the Bible that man should not lay with man as he lays with woman. I can understand why, because of that verse, you would think that homosexuality is a sin, because it's very explicit in the wording that it uses. But trying to justify racism by using a verse that says don't sow two different kinds of seeds together in the ground to mean white and black people can't get married to each other, or whatever races or religions or whatever, is just a big load of bullshit.
Yeah. I think getting pedantic with the wording of the Bible is kind of bullshit.
I'm just saying, like, I can understand why they would believe homosexuality, but I don't understand why people can justify racism with the Bible, because there's nothing in the Bible that says anything about race. There's not. I mean, if there is, and you know of something that says that, let me know, and I will look into it. But as far as I know, there is nothing in the Bible that explicitly says anything about race. And you can try to use certain verses to be metaphorically about race, but that's just an interpretation that you are choosing to have.
That is an interpretation based on a very specific translation from a different translation from Greek or Latin or Hebrew, and
I had a really valuable conversation with Charlie about the Bible a few weeks ago that I learned some things in which apparently there's a section in the Bible when this guy comes over and says, like, heal my servant to Jesus, and Jesus heals his servant. But the specific word in the original language that was used was specifically a sex servant. Like, yeah, it's a servant. Good job. You translated it as servant, but it's specific sex servant. And it's a man who had a male sex servant. And Jesus was like, sure, I'll heal your sex servant. Here you go. And healed his male sex servant.
That's partly why I'm among Catholicism, is because there is a lot of research to back it up. There are scientists in the Vatican. There are the priest in my church threw a fit because somebody wanted to get married in the church, and like a fit by like literally just like a 2-year-old tantrum for like 10 minutes about it before he called somebody for help, because they wanted a service done in Greek, and he didn't speak Greek. He speaks Latin. And it's like, you cannot make me learn this in another language. I've got 3 in there already. 4 will not fit.
Throwing a fit about the language and not about who wants to get married.
Yeah, just could not. And I live in a town where he's a pretty interesting dude to begin with, because he's married and has kids. And you're not supposed to do that in Catholicism, but he converted. He was a priest in another religion.
And then so he was already married, and then he became a Catholic priest?
And they decided, okay, we'll let that go. Well, she's lovely. His kids are great. But they decided not to make him leave his calling because he started in the wrong place. And,
respect.
Right? But like, this is the guy running a church in a town where there's maybe 100 people in his parish. Like, it is a very small place, but there is still that much learning and research that has to go into understanding this kind of stuff before you're allowed to tell people about it, before you're allowed to run a mass.
I think it's way too easy to become a pastor and I kind of lump them all together. Basically, non-Catholic Christianity, I kind of say Protestant because that's where they branched from.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say Protestant, I don't mean specifically Protestant. I mean basically any Christianity that's not Catholic.
More or less, yeah. With
Or,
a few things, like
or Mormon, because it's really hard to become a priest in Mormonism. But
like, I wouldn't put Mormonism or even like Seventh-day Adventists and that kind
yeah.
of
So
Protestant, but everything else is a kind of Protestantism.
So when I say Protestant, that's what I mean. I'm using it as a very vague, non-Catholic. Mormonism, I don't really count in the Christian aspect because
they're pretty sideways. They went off on their own tree.
Yeah, it's hard to explain with Mormonism because, yeah. So I don't count Mormonism in this either. And Seventh-day Adventist, I don't know. I don't know. And Jehovah's Witness, probably their own thing too.
Yeah.
So Protestantism. It's too easy to become a pastor in Protestant Christianity, in my opinion. And that's why I feel like there's a lot of false teachers in Protestantism, in Protestant Christianity. And that's why I choose to no longer go to church, because right now I feel like the church environment in the Protestant Christianity area is really toxic. And they're supposed to be there to teach us what the Bible says, not teach us what their opinion of what the Bible says is, or what they think it should say, or to reinterpret it as metaphors to say different things. Like that whole rant I went on about don't sow two different seeds together in the ground, being a metaphor for racism. No, don't do that. And they do that all the time. And that's why I'm like, yeah, I'm going to believe what I believe. I'm going to study my Bible alone at home. I'm going to listen to worship music and dance and sing around in my living room. That's what I'm going to do. I know it says in the Bible to like commune with other Christians, which I do. Like I do talk to other Christians. I just don't go to church.
Yeah, that's fair.
I choose not to.
Church culture gets really uncomfortable really fast.
If I could find a church that I am comfortable with, absolutely I would start going to that church. I haven't found one yet though. So
have you tried any of the Anglican kind of churches, which is the other half to like there's Protestant and then there's Anglicanism, which is Catholic, but there's more.
No, I'm very into the contemporary non-denominational type churches. I like those more. I just haven't found one in my area who has a pastor that I would actually want to listen to.
I would seriously go to a mass and just like chill.
I have been to mass before, and I was told I was going to go to hell because I took communion and I didn't know I wasn't supposed to.
Oh, who told you that?
Somebody else that went to the mass with me.
They were rude bitches.
It was when I was in basic training, and one of the people that I was friends with, who was Catholic, and she was like, "Hey, I want you to go to mass with me, because I know that you're Christian, but I would like you to go to mass with me. Is that okay?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll go with you one time and see if I like it or not." So we go. It was fine. Didn't really understand a lot of what was going on. They came around with the communion stuff. I took communion because at my church, everybody takes communion always. And so I took the communion, and the person that I went with, as well as one other person, because it was a bunch of people that were all in my group that all came, they were like, "Oh, it's okay, like you're not supposed to do that, but it's okay, you didn't know, like it's fine." Then one of the other people looked at me like deadpan, like was gonna shoot lasers out of his eyes if he stared any harder at me. "You're going to hell," because I took communion when I wasn't supposed to. And so, yeah.
Excuse me, bitch. No. Like, if you know you are not supposed to take communion, you don't take communion. My grandma's funeral in August was a mass, and it was very beautiful. One of my friends sang the music for it, and it was so touching and so good. And my sister and I had kind of been talking back and forth, like, because we've taken communion before, but there are certain rules you're supposed to like to follow for it. We're like, we didn't have time to do any of that. We didn't go to confession. Are we supposed to take it? What are we gonna do when they call us up? And thank goodness the priest who was doing the services was like, we're gonna do communion now. If you don't think you're supposed to do it, just don't get in line. We won't worry about it. And then explained like how switching things up because it was in the middle of a pandemic. There wasn't doing wine, I don't think, and it was he'd hand you the cracker, and usually you just like let them put it in your mouth, and didn't do that.
Well, communion in how I grew up going to church, everybody takes communion because we don't have confession or any of that stuff, because in non-Catholic Protestantism, you are able to, repent for your own sins without going through a priest. Like, you can just pray to straight up and be like, hey, I fucked up, please forgive me. And then God's like, okay, sure, I forgive you. Don't do it again, kind of a situation. You don't have to go to confession or any of that kind of stuff. So you can take communion. We don't really have any special rules, because the way that I was taught about communion is that, when Jesus was doing this, it was for everybody, because he's dying for everybody. And so there's no special rules for it. So I took communion because that's the way I grew up.
And the special rules are basically you can't take it under false pretenses. So
okay, I can see that.
Yeah, someone I know in the church was having a heart-to-heart with me once and admitted to me that they had been lying in confession and not confessing everything and keeping a secret and not stopping the behavior that they considered to be a sin.
Okay.
And then that person taking communion was a sin because it was not with the right energy, basically.
Okay, so I can see that being. See, here's where the centrist part of me is okay, I'm not Catholic, and I don't really agree with a lot of the practices in Catholicism that I've personally seen from people. However, that specific thing of involving communion, I can get that. I can get behind that. I think that's up to a certain level of personal responsibility. Of you have to, if you're going to take communion, you need to know
you're not lying.
Yeah. So, plus in Protestant, the church that I went to growing up, we don't go up and get it. And I think somebody told me with communion, that you drink out of the same glass. We didn't do that in my church growing up. They would pass out, we had these little cups, and they would pre-fill them up and put a lid over this thing, and they would come and pass them out, and everybody would take one and take a cracker, and then you would sit there, we would pray, then you take one, and then you take the other, and so you don't all go up there and do it everybody does it at the same time.
Yeah, with the few churches I went to, because I've only been experienced my local church and one in Indiana, it's you take a line and you get it directly from the priest, and then you get the wine from a deacon, and it's a very moving experience. Your little cup thing sounds so manufactured to me, which is kind of funny because so much of Catholicism is just manufactured for the experience. Yeah, it's a very personal, emotional moment with the Father.
Right.
But I also really, there's also stuff like I really appreciate confession and confessionals, because you can do the like straight to yourself, but there is a accountability in the admitting it to someone else in person too. Like,
Yeah.
you said it to you've said it to somebody, and they may not know who you are, but they will know, quote, 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 because you can tell. But, there is that reassurance, and it is a step that can be skipped, but it does a lot as he is also your counselor. He is also your,
Right.
praying for you as well.
Yeah, and see, that's why I don't hate on religions. Like, I may not agree with specific things within religions, but I don't, like, hate on them or say that they're wrong, because, like, if that's something that, like, having confession and, like, all that, if that's something that you really, like, enjoy about your religion, or something that you think is important, why would I come in and think that I'm qualified to tell you that you're wrong? Like...
And I will kind of talk down to Protestantism, and that's because my experiences with it were very bad.
Right.
They are definitely not universal.
My experiences with my churches and stuff growing up have been pretty much all good up until I became an adult, and then not as good, which is why I don't go to church, and I just do my own Bible study at home. But like the church that I went to growing up was, I liked it a lot. The pastor was awesome. We had openly gay, like a married gay couple that, like, everybody knew that they were married and gay, and nobody cared. Like, everybody was like, hey, I can vibe with it. Like, teach their own kind of a, and it's like sure, maybe people in the church believed it was wrong. Maybe they believed it was sinful, but nobody said anything, and nobody seemed to care. And I thought that was great. And I was on the worship team in that church. I taught Sunday school in that church. I was very involved. And then when I joined the Army and I moved away and I stepped down from all that, and I have yet to find a church that matches that. There's a different pastor in that church now whom I don't really like, so that's why I don't go to that church anymore. Because I would take the drive out there, because it's like a 40-minute drive. If I liked that church still, I would drive out there to go to that church. But I don't really like the pastor that's there now, because he's not a very good pastor.
The way I interpret evangelical, like the word, more as an adjective than as a like title of a church. There are no churches called churches referred to by name in my community, and there's 11 Baptist churches in my town. I've counted. There's more than those kind of churches, but there's 11 identifying themselves as Baptist in my city limits. So
the church I went to growing up was Assemblies of God, which I don't have any major qualms with. The only thing that I'm like, is one of their like tenets of faith or whatever in their like belief system or whatever is to prove that you're saved, you have to be able to speak in tongues, which I do not agree with, because in the Bible it specifically says that different people are going to be given different gifts from God, which includes speaking in tongues, being able to interpret what the tongues are. Like, one person speaking tongues, the other one's like, hey, I know what they're saying. One's the gift of prophecy, the other one is interpreting prophecy, one is the gift of dreams, one of them is interpreting those dreams. Like, everybody's going to have different gifts that complement other people's gifts. So saying that everybody has to be able to speak in tongues is bullshit.
Exclusionary.
Because it specifically says in the Bible that everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to have a different gift from God. Another thing that they used to do that I hated doing it. I stopped going to these things. So they would have on like Wednesday nights, they would have like a prayer, like Bible study type thing that was like, you could come to it and everybody would like pray and do like a prophecy circle type thing. is weird. So that like one person would be like, hey, I'd like to be prophesied over. Cool. They come step in the front, and then everybody else would have to like sit around them and try to prophesy over them. I don't have the gift of prophesying over people. So why are you forcing me to sit here to try to prophesy over this person when I know I'm not going to be able to? Like, I stopped going because I went a couple of times with my parents, and then I stopped going because I'm like, it's like if you have the gift of prophesying over people and you want to do that, absolutely 100% go for it. Great. But I can't do it. I know that I can't do it because all the times that I've like had people, hey, can you prophesy over me? And I'm like, okay, sure. And I try. Nothing happens.
Okay, I would really like for you to explain this process of like what that's supposed to be like.
You just like basically the person sits there, everybody else kind of sits there and like is quiet, praying, like trying to pray to God for like, hey, give me a prophecy for this person, something that you want me to say to them from you, basically, like a message from God to them through you. Certain people are able to do that. Certain people have that gift. Not everybody has that gift, but some people do. I don't have it. So why are you making me sit here with you in this circle? Like if those two people over there can do that, absolutely let them go up there and do that. Just let me sit over here and I'll just pray by myself because it's supposed to be like a Bible study prayer thing, not like a everybody sit in a circle and try to prophesy over this person. Like
not the Protestant version of tarot reading.
Basically. Like, come on. It's uncomfortable for them to try to expect you to have gifts that you don't have. I never figured out what my spiritual gift was, or if I even have one. So I don't know. I just know it's not prophesying over people, and I can't speak in tongues. So I know it's not those two things, which is why I'm not a part of that church anymore, because that's the two things that they always tried to make us do.
Probably because they're the showiest.
Probably.
I feel like I was saying is like I consider evangelical more of a like descriptive term than a title. So it sounds like you were going to a church that was leaning towards the evangelical side and has now dived in.
Well, when I was going there, we were very contemporary, modeled a lot after Bethel Church in Redding, California. That's a pretty big church. You probably heard of it. I don't know. It's a pretty massive church. I like Bethel Church. I like the environment and the community of it. They do have some things there that I'm like, they have like this spiritual college type thing that you can like attend. It's like an actual university course, like whatever, but where they try to teach the gifts of God. If that makes basically it's a college place that teaches you spiritual gifts.
That's I'd call that a red flag.
So
like that sounds more like a brainwashing camp to me.
And then I'm over here like having read my Bible, knowing that it says that everybody's going to have their own special gift and they're all going to be different. And then I look at that and I'm like, how are you supposed to like teach me the spiritual gifts of God when I'm supposed to have my own special thing? Like, make it make sense. I don't know. Christianity is a big mixed bag of you might pull out a good one, you might pull out a bad one. And not everybody's going to agree on anything.
I can see people's problems with Catholicism like really clearly. Because there are certain aspects of it that are very ritualistic. The line between Catholicism, paganism, and magic is really thin.
Right.
I firmly disagree in the idea that the line between Catholicism and idolatry is as thin as a lot of people will say it is.
Okay. Like having the praying to the saints and that kind of thing?
Well, it's more, that could be part of it. But my perspective on it growing up was always the crucifix
Okay.
is in every Catholic church I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Every other church I've been to, there is never Jesus on the cross. It's always just the cross.
Well, I can have an explanation for that, at least from what I was taught about why our non-Catholic church doesn't have Jesus on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the celebration of Christ is the fact that he was taken off the cross and was resurrected. So why would we only show him on the cross when part of the big celebration of him dying for us is the fact that he was resurrected and then ascended to heaven? So that's why, at least my church and what my beliefs that I was taught, is why we don't have Jesus on the cross and we just have just a cross. Because we still appreciate what this symbolizes, but we celebrate him coming off the cross and being resurrected rather than the actual dying on the cross part.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of guilt interlaced into Catholic culture.
I can see that, yeah. Which is probably why you guys have the crucifix with Jesus on the cross.
But that's also not the only image of Jesus in the church. Like when you walk into a cathedral, it is supposed to be like walking into heaven. That is since the first Gothic cathedrals were built, even before that, that's what the intention to the design has always been. Like once you cross the threshold, you are no longer on earth, you are in heaven.
Okay.
So there is a lot of pictorial imagery. Like there is a statue of the Virgin Mary outside of our church. There are statues of, in my church, there is one, I think there's one of Saint Anthony. I haven't read the plaque in a couple of years. So I don't know, but the name of the church is St. Anthony's, and the stained glass windows also depict Jesus carrying the cross on one side, and on the other, it's the resurrection story. Boom, like that. It's really neat.
Right. That sounds cool, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other churches I've been to have all been very plain in their imagery. There's that, there is the poster of Jesus knocking on the door without the handle thing, of the white Jesus with the hair.
Yeah. The church I went to, we didn't have a lot of pictures and stuff, but they did have a lot of I haven't been there, so they could have them, but they had Bible verses on one side. There was some Bible verses that were on the wall, and then the other side was all windows, so they couldn't really put anything on there. But and then the front, we had a big cross in the middle of the wall, just a cross, not a crucifix. And then that was where we had a stage because we had the band and stuff, and because we were contemporary church, so we had a full band. And then we're the pew, or not the pew, basically it was just a stand for the pastor to stand behind that had a little microphone on it.
The pulpit.
Yeah. Is that what it's called? A pulpit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and that we would move it when we were playing, and then put it back when he would go up there to speak, and that was pretty much it. And then we had the white screen thing that comes down, because we would put the lyrics to the songs that we were singing up there so that people could sing along if they didn't know the song that we were singing. So we had that would come down, and then also if the pastor wanted to put a verse up on there while he was doing his sermon, or whatever, so that would come down too. But yeah, that was pretty much our church decoration. It was very simple. You could tell it was a church, but it wasn't this big grand thing.
If ours was very ornate and very intentionally designed so that there were speakers and microphones, but Father Tom never needed one.
Yeah, because it echoes in there. I remember from when I went to mass, it carries.
And it's just it's designed to do that. Like but it's the excessive imagery that I think a lot of Protestants take issue with, and the line, when you grow up in it, when you experience it, the line between worshiping the rituals and worshiping and worshiping God through the rituals is hard to see when you're outside of it.
I get that, yeah.
Because it's when you're outside of it, it can be fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm not gonna like bash Catholicism because I'm not Catholic. How am I supposed to be like? If I was Catholic and I'm not anymore, then I feel like I would have the right to do that. But since I've never been Catholic, I'm not gonna bash it.
And
like one of the things that I was taught, like the why Catholicism is wrong is like not idol worship. They never called it idol worship. They just said they pray to saints, and you're not supposed to do that. You're only supposed to pray to God and Jesus. And so that's why it's not like they never said like, oh, it's idol worship. They just said like they pray to these saints, and you're only supposed to pray to God and the Son and the Holy Spirit, but like that's it. You're not supposed to pray to saints or anything like that, or to angels or whatever. And so that's why I'm like, I don't agree with Catholicism in that aspect, because I was taught that you're only supposed to pray to God and Jesus, and that's it. So I mean,
I won't use the word idolatry.
I wouldn't really consider it to be idolatry anyways, so
I'm probably using the word wrong, but that is more akin to like iconography.
Okay, yeah.
Because there are places where the line there gets real thin. Like little boxes with little hunks of saints in them that people carry around, leaving churches. But here's a question I've never had the opportunity to ask before for like
okay.
Do you ever have conversations in your mind, like, or have conversations with when someone dies? Like, say, I'll just talk to them. Is that a thing in your particular Protestant world?
I've never heard about it. I've never like experienced being able to like as in like somebody's dead and you're having a conversation with them, like a ghost, or
No,
like what specifically do you mean? Like the spirit of someone is visiting you?
Like talking to them in heaven. Like
I have never experienced anything like that, and I've never had anybody say that they've experienced anything like that before. I don't know. I mean, I suppose it could be possible. I have no idea. I have never done that.
Not in the like reverse communication way, like you're getting messages from this person, but like part of the comforting process is if you have something you want to tell them,
and you just tell them.
Yeah. Just think it and they'll hear.
Okay, well, now that you explained it that way, I've never done that because I've never had anybody really close to me pass away. But I could see that, like if my grandma passes away, well, I mean, she's going to eventually, but like when she does, I could see myself like talking up to her, like, and in that aspect, like there's a lot of Christian movies that have scenes like that where somebody will die and they'll like be praying or talking to like their dead person that died and like not praying to them but like talking to them. So like yeah.
And like that's where
I wouldn't consider that to be praying, like worshiping a like false anything though. I feel like
but that's kind of how the prayers in Catholicism work.
to the saints and stuff. It's like you're talking to a dead person rather than praying.
Yeah, like the Hail Mary is talking to her. It's one of the lines in it is pray for us. Like, hey, add your prayer to the pile. Not.
Okay. Well, now that you've explained it to me like this.
And like that's my interpretation.
I get it. Like, now that you've explained it to me thoroughly and explained it in a way that I can like kind of understand what it is, I can like say that I don't know if I was necessarily like falsely taught, but maybe taught, I don't know. I was taught that they pray to saints, and if it's not a prayer to a saint, it's just like talking to them, then I wouldn't necessarily say that it's automatically like wrong to do that. So,
because it's always with the acknowledgement that the person you are talking to is not God. They serve God too.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I got it. I've learned something new today. Do we still have people watching, by the way? Because we've been talking for like.
No idea.
I am one of the people watching. It says we have 3 people. I have it open. So
do I.
So we have 1 person watching us talk about religion. We had 5 a moment ago, and now we have 3.
Yep.
Oh man, we are so chatty. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we should probably talk at times when we're not live streaming, so that way it doesn't actually be conversation, be like sprinting.
Yeah, I mean, we did have like valuable conversations today, so I'm not like that upset about it. But at the same time, I'm like, this is supposed to be a writing stream.
It might help if I was drafting and not outlining, because like when I'm drafting, I like to be a taskmaster with my shit.
Right. It's fine. I was gonna say we could do another sprint, but it's already 2.5 hours in, and I'm tired. So.
Yes, I need to go to bed too, and I need to get.
I am sorry for whoever's still here. I apologize.
I thank you for staying here with us and this conversation.
And I hope that you appreciated the conversations that we've had today about politics, education reform, some social issues, religion.
I think we talked about almost everything you're not supposed to talk about.
Yeah, but it was all good conversation.
It was a great conversation. I'm going to Google like things not to talk about at a dinner party.
So, yeah, all right. I'm going to say outros, and then tomorrow I'm going to put timer on the screen for limiting how long we can talk.
That's smart.
So that we make sure that we're not chatty.
I vote we skip outros today because people already know way too much about us now.
All right, well then that's fine with me. I'm just going to say then I'm streaming every day of the month, so I will be streaming again tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to come do sprints, I will make sure that we aren't as chatty as we were today. I will time our breaks in between sprints because we have been not doing as many sprints as I want because we keep talking a bunch. I will be attempting to get up on time to be an Amber stream that starts at noon Eastern. It's 9 a.m. my time, so noon Eastern. So maybe go to that, and I will try to be there. And then, yeah, I don't have anything else happening tomorrow. So, okay. Yeah. That's it. Bye.